3, 2, 1, and we are now live. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to this evening conversation, distinguished viewers, brothers, sisters of our Igbo, friends of Nigeria and the African diaspora that NjenjeMedia is here to serve. We welcome you to this special edition of the State of the Igbo Nation series here on NjenjeMedia TV. Today, we are privileged to host a true statesman, a trailblazer in Igbo political thoughts and relentless voice for the dignity of Igbo in Nigeria. Our guest today is Chief Dr. Chekwas Okorie, Ojozi Ndị Igbo, Ogbatuloyenyi Ndị Igbo. Chief, before I continue with the introduction, I will say, ki ikwekanai, ifela aka, ki kene umu Igbo.
Umu Igbo ekene mu no Igbo mmanụ. Igbo rie no nwono zwono.
Ndewo. Chief Okorie was born in Umirem, Ameke, Alai Bendel local government area of Abia State in 1953. A graduate of management from the University of Nigeria, Nsukka, and the holder of a PhD in humanities and leadership from the University of America, California, Dr. Okorie has combined scholarship with decades of political engineering. He is a founding member of Ohanaeze Ndị Igbo Worldwide, founder and pioneer chairman of the All Progressive Grand Alliance, APGA, the one we all know with Okokoroko. He's also the founder of the national chairman of the defunct United Progressive Party, UPP, and the 2015 presidential candidate of UPP. Beyond politics, he is chairman, CEO of several thriving enterprises, Chow Waters Nigeria Limited, African Homes Limited, and many others. A custodian of Igbo traditional heritage, he was honored by Ohanaeze Ndị Igbo Worldwide with the title Ogbatuloyenyi Ndị Igbo in 2002, and he proudly carries this as his most cherished recognition, Ojozi Ndị Igbo. Today, I enjoin you to join me to welcome here the convener of the Igbo Agenda Dialogue, IAD 2095, to engage in a frank conversation about the past, present, and the future of our Igbo in Nigerian project today. Again, asikwama ka nkene ụmụnne m biko nụ anyị si echi m ka nwere ohere ayọ anyị na onwe ka teknụzụ si wee kpọtụ anyị obere okwu o wee dị ka anyị ebidoghị mgbe anyị kwesịrị ibido biko nụ anyị na-egbuna m ọ ndị Igbo ka anyị na-arụrụ ọrụ. Nwanne m nwoke asị m ka anyị bido kene na iji wee sị ama m na arụ dị gị mma.
Arụ dị m and obi dị m ụtọ ịnọ nnọkọ a mụ na ụmụnne m na ụmụnna m.
Okay, let me fire the first salvo here. Let me start with identity and positioning. What is the true place of Ndị Igbo in today's Nigeria, politically and economically?
Well, politically, Igbo people are not well positioned in Nigeria today. And it is not altogether their fault. There have been series of policies of government. The structure of Nigeria as imposed on Nigerians by the government, especially the military government that handed over to the civilian government in 1979. All these and more combined to put Ndị Igbo at the receiving end of the short end of the political stick in this country. I can explain that a little bit. We have some people sat down, military leaders in particular, and carved Nigeria that was originally based on a tripod of 3 legs, and later had 4 regions. And that time, by 1963, there were 12 provinces in the eastern region of Nigeria and 9 provinces in the western part of Nigeria and 14 provinces in the north. That was by 1963. That was the position of the structure, the political structure of Nigeria. But Kaya basically, after the war, of course, before the war, 12 states were created, putting 6 in the north and 6 in the south. Further state creations brought Igbo people and the southeast to a smaller area, and they continue to carve out part of the southeast where Igbo people dominated into other geopolitical zones. What this meant further was that Nigeria had 774 local governments. Northwest alone was given 188 local government by military fiat. And the southeast, that was supposed to be one of the legs of the tripod, had only 95 local government. The political implication of this is that anytime there is a convention, a national convention to elect candidates for presidency in this country, the Constitution of Nigeria says delegates to the convention will come from the local governments by equality of local governments. In other words, if the Northwest is coming with 188 delegates, that is 1 person per local government, the Southeast will be going to that same convention with only 95, approximately half. And so there was no way an Igbo man could stand up, no matter his profile, no matter how much he's qualified, he will not stand a chance to win a nomination. So the only way an Igbo man can contest presidency in this country will be to take a party that has zoned it to the southeast or forget it. That was what the late Dr. Alex Ekweme tried to do, to be part of the big party. He was part of his formation, but he was skimmed out in the convention of the party. But when I founded APGA, we made a policy decision that the presidential ticket must go to the southeast, and it will remain in the southeast until that ambition was actualized. That was the only way the late Chukwuemeka Odumegwu could be a presidential candidate in Nigeria. And recently, the only way our brother Peter Obi could be a presidential candidate, no matter how popular he has become, is to go into a party that, like he did, went to Labour Party, he was the sole candidate. But when he performed, he beat practically everybody, but for what everybody now knows that took place in that election. So our political situation is man-made, not our fault. And so our people have lost confidence in the process. I can tell you that even the agitation to leave Nigeria emanated mainly from the fact that our people believe they are not part of this country. Economically, the second leg of your question, our people have practically lived on their own efforts. Would you know that in the 16 years that the PDP was in government in this country, there was not a single federal presence in the whole of the Southeast? Yet at the onset of the PDP, the Southeast invested 100% of their political capital in the PDP. By this I mean all the governors of the Southeast, 5 of them were PDP. That was before APGA came. All their senators were PDP. All members of House of Rep, House of Assembly, Senate, local governments. In spite of this massive support, 100% support, not a single federal government presence was cited in the Southeast. So, and the abandonment of the coastal sea ports since the war ended was again another deliberate policy of government to force Igbo people who were essentially commercial in their pursuit of business to move to other places where they will not have a level playing field to apply their trade. But that notwithstanding, I can tell you today, again, not because of government efforts, But in spite of government disincentive, everybody knows that the per capita income of the Igbo man in Nigeria is far, far ahead of any other ethnic nationality in this country. So we are not well positioned. We are not well positioned. That is just a simple truth.
Let me piggyback on some of the things you said. Again, because one of the things you're going to help us do this evening is the misinformations that some of us that were outside the room when some of these decisions were made, probably the misconceptions that we have, probably you're going to help us clear them this evening. And you mentioned that on the economic front, looking at the investment in the Igbo made in the PDP, you said that there were more or less no economic benefit that accrued to the Igbo. Now, but how come until 2022, 2023, that Ndi Igbo, if true that there were no economic benefit accruing to them, why were the leaders then hell-bent and still supporting a party that accrued no economic benefit to them? Now, the second leg of that this same question is, if we look at the 2022-2023 election, where P2B ran under Labour Party, would you then think that had P2B run under APGA, the party you founded, that probably the narrative would have been different?
Let me take the first one, and then I'll come to the platform he eventually used. The first part of your question, if I remember very well, you are asking how come our people continue to support the party that did not do anything for them?
Yes.
Well, let me put it this way. There was something when Ohaneze was started in 1976. I was a young undergraduate then. I was the only one running the errands for them. In fact, I have run errands for Ndibo for 49 years now, starting from that year. But by next year, God willing, I will celebrate 50 years of running errands for my people. So, and then I will also be 73. That means greater part of my youthful life had been invested in doing this. So I should be able to speak with a certain level of knowledge.
Yes.
Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe, who was the patron and the only patron Ohaneze ever had, reminded us each time we met in 1976 that the worst thing that would happen to a race that lost a war was the loss of self-esteem. And to recover the lost self-esteem, it will take several decades of conscientious, focused leadership. And I tell you, up to this moment, we have not fully recovered our self-esteem. And that is why you can see some Igbo people even deny their own identity. That is why the Igbo people, many of them who are politicians, like I was until a week ago when I said I'm no more into partisanship, let me continue with running errands for the Igbo for the rest of my life. That you will see people running back to the same party are even betraying their own brothers to curry favor just to pass by. It is this loss of self-esteem. And that conscientious leadership has never been there. Will you believe that 55 years after the war, the Igbo people have never had a political summit, not once. Even if it's a failed one, but not once. But the Yorubas have had a couple of political summits. The South, they have had. The Middle Belt, for the North, for the core North, they didn't need a political summit because all the while they have been in control of the commanding heights of our politics. So, but how come Igbo people, with the enormous number we have, we are the largest in population, we are the second most populous ethnic group in all the 36 states of the federation, second only to the indigenous population of the states. And you can't have this kind of number and spread and not use it for political advantage. But today, We are working on having our first ever political summit that may change, by the grace of God, the attitude of our people towards politics. And that quickly takes me to the P2B because they are connected. If P2B had used APGA at the time he went for that election, the difference may not have been much. The reason is that by the time he went for that election, the morale of Igbo people to participate in Nigerian politics had declined to an all-time low. I'll give you the one example that will portray this. Before the 2023 election, which P2B participated in as a presidential candidate, INEC record shows that Southeast alone had 11.5 million registered voters. Those who agreed to register, 11.5 million. But at the end of that election, if there was rigging anywhere, not in Igbo land, in fact, others accused us of rigging in favor of Peter. Again, there was no rigging for him. Peter had 89.6% of the total votes. But what did he come to in number? He came to 1.8 million votes only. President Tinubu had 5.1 million percent. Atiku Abubakar had about 4.7%. So it means that out of 11.5 million registered voters in the Southeast, less than 2 million people came out to vote. Whereas in 2011, the same Southeast gave President Jonathan over 7 million votes at that time. So can you imagine if the Southeast had given P2B as little, not as little, about 5 million votes, 2 million less than what we gave to Jonathan in 2011, P2B would have won that election in spite of the manipulations. So something is definitely wrong. We need to do something to arouse the consciousness of our people back. We are like a sleeping giant, and we must wake ourselves up and take that which God has given to us. You see, it is generally said that God helps those who help themselves. Correct. But in our situation, we have already been blessed by God. We are the ones not ready to help ourselves. So it is the other way around for us.
Okay.
And nobody is going to do it for us. Some people have to sacrifice their partisan political ambition, like I have just done, to be able to approach our people from non-partisan level. And we decided that we were not going to have something that will be at cross purposes with Ohaneze. Ohaneze is a socio-cultural organization that is non-partisan. So ours will be complementary, but it will be essentially political.
Okay.
So this is the way I approach the question.
Okay. So let me, before I leave these APGA and P2B, let me, for my viewers and for myself, dig deeper a little bit. If we stay on the last, the way you attempted to answer the question, I go back to your opening salvo. When you said that there was a deliberate effort when you founded or you led the foundation of APGA to ensure that an Igbo man remains the presidential candidate, correct, right? Now, and there is a cliche in APGA, Nkanye bụ Nkanye, Kokoroko. If you just oppose the two, doesn't that then make APGA a regional or an Igbo party that would have scared others to come in, knowing that there is a position already reserved for Ndi Igbo? And had P2B gone to, in 2022-23, to take these posts, to run on this party, yes, Ndi Igbo would have, beckoned. After all, the current governor of Anambra State made that offer then in 2022, I believe, that he has, he can run on this platform. But had he done that, don't you think that the rest of Nigeria that really rallied around P2B to give him that, that support to make him the global brand that he is today, don't you think that the rest of Nigeria would have, washed off their hands saying, "Whoa, this is not an Igbo thing"? Don't you think
No,
so?
it's not. No, I don't think so, really,
Okay.
because if you check in the past few years, it has been non-Igbo people who have been most vocal in calling on the rest of, especially the governments of the day, from that of President Buhari to President Tinubu, to look at the Igbo situation and accommodate Igbo, give them sense of belonging. It has been coming from others. Don't forget that the likes of the late Chifaye Adebanjo was the one, a Yoruba man, championing P2B's candidature and campaigns in the Southwest to the extent he could, considering his age and health. And there were other people from the North. But that notwithstanding, what APGA was not a region. The laws of Nigeria do not allow regional parties to be formed. It's a national party. And this idea of Nkanye was not what we came up with. Our motto was, and still remains, as registered in INEC, Onyaga na Nwanne be your brother's keeper. That does not limit your brother to Igbo. And that was why in our first outing, this Onyaga was something brought in to even alienate other Igbo people. Some people in Anambra called it Nkanye to even alienate their own kith and kin from other states. So I pray APGA will go back to the original motto. But in 2003, APGA won Federal House in Suleja Federal Constituency without a candidate. APGA won Amuwo Dolphin Federal Constituency election without a candidate. APGA won Ojo Federal Constituency in Lagos without a candidate. The reason was that people didn't think that APGA will attract votes. So they didn't come to pick. At that time, what was voted for was simply the symbol of the party. So nobody was keen on who was the candidate. And it has happened before.
Yes.
When Igbo people coalesced on MPP, and the candidate of MPP in Ohonzara local federal constituency died just before the election. The time was short to replace him, but the dead man won the election there. That is the extent a fully mobilized Igbo can go. And there are people in the Middle Belt who are looking up to Igbo for their own political liberation. There are minorities in the North who are looking up to Igbo. I know people in the South whose problem is that Igbo people have not gotten their house in order. So those who are prepared to align with us to make Nigeria a better place are there waiting for us to be ready to take the lead.
Okay, so without dwelling much on this, you said something that struck a chord, that there was a time APGA won election even without having a candidate,
Yes.
or rather, basically. So suddenly, when you departed from APGA nosedived. APGA remained, and in fact, some people now say it's Anambra Progressive Grand Alliance, and because it's kind of restricted in Anambra. It hasn't really expanded beyond Anambra. So if as the brain behind it, as the one who did the legwork, understanding the vision that you had then, if you are to do a postmortem of where things went wrong, what do you think made APGA to be stagnant and can only control one state?
Well, there are things, I do not really want to open old wounds here, because I am a very futuristic person. I'm a very optimistic person. In fact, some people say I am incurably optimistic. But I will tell you something that the much I can say here. When the Modumegwu Ojukwu flew the APGA flag, and Igbo people voted all over the country. The government in power knew the actual result as against what was given to him, and they panicked. They panicked because they thought that if APGA was allowed to continue along that way, that the Modume, because they had this morbid fear of the Modume Ojukwu. They felt that if Ojukwu had a foothold in Igbo land, that he would resume the Biafran struggle. But he had done it. I was with him. I have been close to Ojukwu, the Modume Ojukwu from 2000 and when he came back from exile. 1984, yeah. Till 2082, yes. Till the APGA crisis began in 2004. So he had done everything to assure Nigerians that the war was gone as far as he was concerned, that what was paramount to Ndibo was giving them their sense of belonging. Everybody will remember that he was the one preaching Biafra of the mind. Because I was close to him, he would tell anybody that cared to listen that the Biafra of a territorial integrity with airspace, continental shelf, and
oh dear.
And all of that will require superior Nigeria, and that will be war, and that it will not be to support another.
Oh dear. When the airplane is about to move, the Nigerian network, basically struck. So far, so good. I think, honestly, I do not know about you, but I think so far it has been an enlightening conversation. Hearing from him, someone who, as long as this conversation is concerned, someone who has been there from the inception. So we are waiting for him to rejoin us back, and this conversation would continue. Now, so far, we've been able to look at the. Okay, hold on. Is it back? Okay, while we wait for him to come back, let me quickly. Okay, he's not yet back, but I believe that he will be back soon so that we can go ahead with this conversation, right? While we wait for him to come back, we've started this conversation with, a question fired at him as to the true place of Ndibo in Nigeria today. I mean, he did take us, down memory lane as to what happened and how we got here in his own view. So my guest is back now. I'm bringing him back in, and I'm going to be making him co-host. You are now co-host now. You can now unmute. So sorry, unmute. You haven't Please unmute. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry, an incoming call disturbed that
Yes.
conversation.
I would
Yeah.
suggest you
Well, I
put
think you
your
will
phone on
pick it from
D&D.
there.
I think I would suggest you put your phone on D&D. So that is do not disturb. When you swipe down, you see like a half moon. It will say do not disturb. So I'll let you do that while I take you off the screen, so that another call would not disturb that. Right.
Okay.
So once it's done, once you've done that, let me know.
I think we can
Okay.
continue.
Okay, that's fine. Now, I quite appreciate the honest answer you've given us to that. I think Nibane Ikuya onye ọbụla nwere ili ya guzie ezi ọnụ. Okay, so because those are quite sensitive
Yes,
issues. Anyway,
yes.
I appreciate that. So, ọ bụrụ na anyị na-anya, let me say in clear terms, when we talk about vision and strategy, what is the Igbo agenda in Nigeria, and how can it be articulated beyond rhetorics? Now, you said no one kunu na-eme, but beyond that, we've been, I mean, I know we had the Ekweme Declaration of 2018, where led by Ohaneze, where the political leaders and the social cultural organization under Chief Nyanwodo, they assembled in Enugu and they made a declaration, and therein contained what many will consider as Igbo position. But again, ndị Igbo taking a position doesn't, in vision and strategy, equate Igbo agenda. So, in clear terms, what do you think is the Igbo agenda in Nigeria?
Well, Igbo agenda, I would like to talk about the political side, because Ohaneze is doing a great deal on the social-cultural side. This one is the socio-political side. And there have been a number of summits on the economic side, economic summit, and so on and so forth. But what has been lacking, as I said earlier, is the political angle. You see, the Igbo Sinazotana, Azobute. We must start from the fundamentals, and that is to tell our people as persuasively as we can, using all the network that Igbo people already have. I will explain that network. To take it to the doorstep, to the home. That is not one, it's important that we own voters' card. But it's also more important that we participate in elections during elections. And that is the only way we can recruit the type of leaders that we expect that will serve us and be accountable to us. And what is the structure that we already have? There is no ethnic group in Nigeria that has this network of town unions, market associations, professional body associations, and so on and so forth. What we want to do is to bring them, not form one octopus body that nobody will want to link up to. Prepare it by the way electricity grid is prepared in Nigeria. Link up all of these associations and into a body called the IAD that will now represent the Igbo political interest. And will not stop at the holding summit and issuing papers. We are going to produce, we already have it as a target to produce the Igbo Charter. We have never had a charter. In that Igbo Charter, the agenda of the Igbo will be articulated in a manner that every person will understand it. It will also be translated. Then we will now use this network we have to reach out to our people. When that is done, then we do perhaps what Dr. Zikiwe did using political party. And that is going into a memorandum of understanding to have a coalition government with the NCNC. If it was not for that coalition government, Midwestern region would never have been created. Because the Western region under the action group vehemently opposed it, because it's like taking away two of their provinces, Edo and Delta provinces, to form Midwestern region. But it was the coalition of NCNC and MPC that made it possible. And Chief Dennis Otanebe became the first premier. In the Second Republic, it was a coalition, MPN coalition, that gave Ndibo a speaker that of the House of Rep that added to Dr. Kweme as vice president, for Igbo to have at the national level a vice president and speaker of House of Representatives. That combination has never been replicated. But each time we are absorbed into a political party, we lose our voice, we lose our energy, we lose our strength. So we want to go back to a situation where any person, even if it's our son, because our son can become president and he'll be busy trying to please others and take his people for granted. Even if it's our son, we will do a memorandum of understanding which will be made available to Igbo people to show them the reason we are going in any particular direction. And once that, and not only for presidency, it also means that if Igbo people in Lagos are going to vote for a Yoruba man to become governor, if he does not sit down with them and tell them what he will do for Igbo in Lagos State, then that vote will go to somebody else who will win the election. And this has to be replicated across the country so that Igbo will be relevant. Let me give you information here. I was in Guzo in Zamfara State in the year 2000, 25 years ago, as special guest of honor to Igbo Day celebration. I met a group of Igbo people living in northern Guzo, most of them from Mbise part of Igbo land, who had been there for 400 years. By the year 2000, Igbo were already in northern Guzo 400 years, meaning that we were 200 years there before Othman and Fodio entered Sokoto with jihad. So if you have this type of spread, why should anybody who has just sauntered into Nigeria begin to treat you as if you are a settler? So there are things that we need to do. Part of the agenda is get united, get coordinated, recover our land. We intend to redraw the political map of Nigeria. It was drawn for us by the military, to the extent that somebody, a former president, could say that we are like a dot in a circle. Whereas if you combine Fulani and Hausa together, they are not up to half of Igbo population. Yet we are the ones who are regarded as, and what does that mean? That we are few in number and we're also landlocked. But we have access to the sea more than any other ethnic group. So these are things we must address. And it's not possible for me to stay in the time we have here to reel out all of the agenda that Igbo people have. But that charter that will be unveiled in January by the grace of God, some eggheads, some from the diaspora will also be drawn into drawing that charter. The draft charter will be circulated amongst a few to make it a tight one, and that will be our own red book, like the Chinese red book. And that will contain every question about Igbo agenda.
Okay. Now, if I piggyback on this, you talked about what actually is contained, or rather, how you intend to work on this Igbo agenda. Now, understanding that I believe Ohaneze has an economic team and has, I think, a political advisory team as well. Now, if in order not to collude with the Ohaneze on the social-cultural side, how do you then intend to, is Ohaneze in agreement and in the know of those things, you and your team are working on?
Yes, I can tell you that. I have, even before we had our first meeting, I communicated with the President General, Senator Azuka Azutambata, who is a young man that I have immense respect for. And some people may not know this life is a very, has its own ironies. His father was one of those who formed Ohaneze in 1976. And today he's the President General. He never knew he would become President General.
49 years
and we have been communicating, and he believed, and he sent me a message after our successful meeting at Abuja, which I have on my phone, that what we have done will be in the best interest of Ndibo and Ohaneze. And when I voluntarily resigned from partisanship, he also commended that initiative. When somebody went and used the name of Ohaneze to issue a statement, Ohaneze was supporting President Tinubu and claimed that it was Ohaneze. He issued a statement, but that statement he issued wasn't given a very wide publicity, that Ohaneze is a non-partisan socio-cultural pan-Igbo organization, and therefore any person, any woman was free to run, and Ohaneze could not take that type of partisan position. So we are working, and there is no way. I'm the oldest surviving member of the 1976 class of Ohaneze. That 76 class have all died, except the last to die was Chief Mbazulika Amechi.
Amechi, yeah.
So there's no way we party to anything that will reduce the influence of Ohanese or the respect we give to it as our Pan-Igbo social cultural body. So let nobody be afraid that there will be a clash. There will never be a clash.
Okay.
So as long as we are focused on what we are doing.
You know, just on a side note, you said that Ohanese is non-partisan, and I'm thinking, are they really non-partisan? I mean, we have seen a couple of endorsements. I mean, is that what people that anyway? Let's take that now. Let me come to something. You know, we touched on it, but we, you know, it kind of moved away, and I want to bring you back to it, and that is you when you talked about alliances and with the current political structure we have, you can see that it's almost impossible to, you know, it's not like party A wins and you win 33%. I'll now go and meet another party that has won 18% to come in so that, you know, we'll match them together and we'll kick the other ones out, right? So it's not that. Now, but if I take a step backwards regarding what you mentioned before, looking back, you were a player in this game in 2010-11. You mentioned that Ndibo gave Jonathan 7 million. It's debatable because some school of thought, myself included, will say, well, technology wasn't in play then, and you know, the politicians did what they know best to do. We'll leave it at that. But to the question here is, what was the actual agreement Ndibo had in supporting Jonathan, that is President Goodluck Ebere Jonathan? And was it a strategic miscalculation? Actually, if we do a postmortem now, in 2011, we supported Goodluck Jonathan hook, line, and sinker. In 2015, we did the same thing. We have not, 9 years later, come out of that decision of 2015. So sometimes when I sit in my quiet moment, I'll think, I wish I was this political active in 2011, but now I want to ask you, because you were then, kedu ihe anyị na Jonathan kpakọtara ka ihe ndị Igbo ka ihe nkwa ekwela.
You see, this is, I said this earlier and I want to say it again. Since for the past 55 years, Igbo people have never had a coordinated political focus. They just gave whoever they thought they could give their support without sitting down with the person to talk. And by the way, they don't mix what I said. I wasn't talking about alliance. I was talking about coalition. These are two different things politically. But so now we come back to Igbo people had no. I tell you, even while President Jonathan was preparing for the his second tenure for the 2015 election, Ohanes Dendi Igbo sent a delegation led by Dr. Alex Ekweme to go and meet him and tell him that we were not happy that of the overwhelming support we gave him, far more support than the South gave him, that there was nothing to show for it in terms of physical infrastructure. And he said to them, he's still alive. Those who went with Dr. Kweme from Ohanese, some of them are still alive. He said to them, well, that we should give him for another support, and that since he couldn't turn the hand or the clock back, he would then address the issues when he returned for the second term. And when that report was brought back to us, we were not satisfied with that answer. We expected him to start doing something, even if they were uncompleted, that they were ongoing projects. But he didn't do that. And Dr. Alex Ekweme, a week or so after, granted an interview to the Sun newspaper, where he said that Igbo people were not happy, that nothing was done for them, and that in 2015, they may not vote for him the way they did before, but it doesn't mean that that they were going to vote for President Buhari either. And it became prophetic. In that election, Igbo people voted with their backside. They just sat at home. Less than approximately 3 million people voted for him. Then President Buhari defeated him by 2.5 million votes in the overall count. And which means if Igbo people had done what they did a second time, President Jonathan would have continued in office. So we have the power to direct the flow of power, in political power in Nigeria, but we have never explored it, we have never exploited it, and we don't want it to remain like that. Please permit me to just mention the one thing you said, that the figure was probably suggesting that it may not have been the real figure. But the truth here is that that is the figure that is in INEC. So
And
if
anybody who disagrees can go to court.
no, there's no court again, because the court was handled that time and settled. It's just like this last one in 2023. Court has settled. Don't forget that it was in that 2003 that 100% of registered voters in Ogun State voted for President Obasanjo. That means nobody died. That means and everybody voted. And that was the year that Mike Tyson's name was on the voters register of Nigeria, and he voted in Ogun State. So these things happen, but when you talk of records, if somebody is doing a research tomorrow, he will go to INEC to collect figures. No figure will come and say, no, this figure is not right or wrong. That is why it has to be prevented before it's done.
Okay, so just for fact checking here and correction, the total number of votes, thank you, Samadna. The total number of votes the Southeast gave Goodluck Jonathan was 4.985246. Buhari got 20,000, Ribadu 25,000, and obviously the total turnout was 66.9. In 2015, there you are right, because there was drastic, if Ndibo gave you 5 million, basically, we just round it up, 4.985 is 5 million. Then, and eventually in 2015, they gave you 2.464, call it 2.5, which is half of what they gave you before. It means that they actually felt that you betrayed them, because they did, and you didn't, like you said, there was nothing that Ndibo got for it. So again, Ndibo didn't vote Goodluck. Well, okay, Ndibo voted Goodluck Jonathan, but Buhari punished Ndibo for not, voting him, because recall the famous quotation while he was in the USA and he was asked how he was going to deal with the Niger Delta as regards to oil pollution, and he said that he would not expect him to treat those that gave him 97% as opposed to those that gave him 5%, obviously making reference to the votes given by the Southeast and South-South, right? So if we get this in this context, then the question that would then be is, in 2023, I'm also not aware that there was any conversation, be it amongst the three presidential candidates that we had, that Ndibo actually sat down with any of them to have an extraction of what, any form of demand. Are you aware, was any of it done?
Of course, you are just repeating what I've said here. We have never sat with anybody for 55 years, not just in 2023. We are saying that going forward, that will not repeat itself.
Now, was there like
except the coalition of Second Republic, which was after the war, that was MPP, MPN, which I also cited here.
So does that mean that Ndibo are actually diminishing in political sagacity? That if, as a people, we're not able to sit down, look at those who have the probability, to win, and say, guys, what is it that you have for us on the table? That if you do this for us, we should be able to give you our vote.
Who would have been the voice if we are not organized in the manner we want to be organized now, to be able to extract that type of condition without relying on a political party? And whatever condition I'm coming, the condition we will get and signed as MOU before entering the election, the moment the candidates emerge, that will be like by June, this time next year, the candidates will have all emerged. That is when this MOU will come in. And the one that gives Igbo people more accommodation and more consideration is what we will make public. Let Igbo people know the reason why they will be called to go one way or the other. But the idea that Igbo people, what we have done, we have practically surrendered, and that is not good enough. So we are like a sleeping giant. That giant is there, but he's sleeping. All of us, you people everywhere, all of us, even those in Africa, when APGA was founded, it was more promoted by the diaspora people than those at home. So everybody will have something to say to his own people, to ask, for us to make our votes determine who becomes what. Look at the Federal Capital Territory. A former minister of Federal Capital Territory, I don't want to mention his name, but he's still relevant in Nigerian politics today, told me that we were always saying we needed a sixth state and all that. But I look at Abuja, that has a status of a state. Igbo people have 75% of real estate. They have the number. They don't want to appropriate Abuja to themselves. And we are busy lamenting here and there. But what happened? In 2023, a little test of that, P2B won 58% in Abuja, leaving President Tinubu and Vice President Atiku Abubakar 42 or less than 42% to share. And that's why none of them made the threshold of 25% as required by law. So we have the number to get things done with that. You don't beg, like going to beg somebody to give us something that we could have given to ourselves or negotiated. Doesn't work in politics. After Tinubu, who has repeated it many times, this power is not served a la carte. And I've also said, even in my days in Ibwezwe, that nobody gives you power on the basis of the make of his human kindness. It is a contest. We must contest for it. We must participate in it.
I agree.
If anybody wants to live in Nigeria, it's not us. We own this place. We shouldn't be thinking of that type of thing.
Now, you know, thinking about the things you've just said, how would it be that, you know, okay, I let me drop that idea, but
otherwise feel free.
No, let me drop that now.
Okay,
let me come to leadership and you know, governance and leadership here, and you know, the question will be, do you think the leadership structure in our Libo today, the caliber of people that we have in terms of our governance, Ohanese, traditional rulers, do you think that they are playing their role effectively? If not, what do you think we could do to make changes?
well, first of all, we have to take back our sovereignty and decide who becomes what by using our vote. When you have no part in somebody emerging to even become candidate of party and being manipulated into office, accountability becomes a difficult thing to expect. Look at let's go to the lowest level, which is the council. A governor will appoint somebody, a councillor in his area, just because the person had the raw brute energy to carry ballot box or to kill somebody for him. And such a person with that character, such a person with that type of attitude, become the councillor in a local in a community, and he will carry that attitude and be running roughshod over even his traditional ruler. Take it up to other levels of recruitment. So this is why our people should be able to be part and parcel of the recruitment exercise. It's what you put in is what you get. And if we are doing the right thing now, well, then what we are saying is that whoever, if you bring a thief to become a member of House of Representatives, and another party brings somebody that has a character, then the person will be voted for by the people. I give you one example again. In the First Republic, Dr. Kweme was the candidate of NCNC. in Aguata federal constituency. NCNC was the most popular party in the area then. But a headmaster, a retired headmaster who was an independent candidate, defeated him. That was the time the people could decide who they wanted to vote. In fact, Ezek used it against him during campaigns and all that. I don't want to go into that detail, but this is a fact of what happened. So our people can vote. Okay, here in Enugu, many of you may have heard that a Fulani man came to Enugu called Umaru Altine from Sifawa in Sokoto State. He became the first mayor of Enugu State, of Enugu local government, under NCNC. By the second election, NCNC did not give him back the nomination. He ran as an independent candidate. Igbo people voted for him because he delivered. So let our people take back their sovereignty and then hold accountable those who they have voted in.
Correct. I'm very profound. The young Igbo, boys and girls must desist from the concept of ofen salade and no election and all gibberish. I mean, obviously, because if you don't come out, you give them the opportunity to actually rig you out. Now, on the same trajectory of the question on leadership, but let me now add the youth to this. Ndị Igbo, especially the youth, are described, or rather often described as enterprising, but politically disillusioned. How do we channel their energy towards constructive leadership beyond the last point you just made? Participate to elect your leaders.
That's a job we must give to ourselves, all of us. We are Republican in nature, and so everybody is Odogu Eze Nabie. So, but we need to persuade and let them know what they are missing by ignoring to participate in what will determine their future. We need to let them know that the voters' card is far more potent than AK-47. And this is what will give you power without shedding blood, without firing a shot. We have to have a starting point. And that is why I keep emphasizing this. This is what has been lacking. Let us address it. Let us see what 2027 will give if we start early next year to penetrate using this network that we already have to see how far we will drive. Because I remember the way we marketed APGA. We didn't have money then. We could only, not him, just the entire party could only afford 5 rallies in the whole country. But we use this network to reach to people. Somebody, a former military president of this country, told me after the election, he said, Chief Okorie, do you know you came second in Sokoto? And he mentioned other places. I didn't even know that we had a better result because we couldn't afford agents to be able to keep bring back our results to us. So there is so much we can do for ourselves. And once all these other people we are sharing this space called Nigeria with, know that we have woken up from our slumber. The respect we are lacking will return. My father used to tell me during my teenage days, if he doesn't do something for you because he loves you, he will do it for you because he knows that when you get angry, that something will happen. But you don't go and sit back and say, and be shedding tears, and the person will come and say, sorry, take this and don't cry again. It's not done like that in power struggle.
So the words of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, still stand very strongly that power is not served a la carte.
Yes, but we will prove it to him that this power, some people have it to serve, and they will serve it, and they serve it the way they wish to serve it.
On economic power, let me come. Now we are still we are still on power. I would say when I walk around Abuja, I intermingle and I interact with a lot of my friends who are non-Igbo. And they will tell me, Mazi, your people don't know how to play politics. You only have the economic power. You know how to trade. You don't know how to play politics. Sometimes when I ask them, how do you play the politics? And it's like, you don't treat politics like your business. So that means you don't, when you come, I don't need to tell you that this is original, this is Taiwan. I mean, you just need to sell anything. But again, and you find out that we kind of have a different mindset towards politics. Now, the question is, everybody believe in Nigeria that we control these, the trade and commerce across the country. But this trade and commerce that we control has not necessarily translated into political leverage. How do you think we can, the way we are you come to Abuja, day market, I mean, everywhere you go, you see Igbo, but we've not been able to flip it. You mentioned it a little bit when you said how you were able to get APGA marketed, but again, it didn't really get to the extended life. It stopped somewhere. So what is it that we need to do now to flip it?
Well, gradually something is beginning to happen, but it's damn too slow to boast about. Today, we now have Southeast Economic Development Commission. That commission was first proposed by one member of House of Rep from Obalu area, one Chu Onyema, in 2017. And that the people in the House at that time didn't allow it to pass the first reading. But under this new regime, when we now have a Deputy Speaker, Benjamin Kalu, Right Honorable Benjamin Kalu, they raked up that bill, dusted it up, gave it some more flesh, and presented it using their connections and a better lobbying strategy. And within a short time, it passed through. It was passed, and the Senate did not hesitate to concur, and that was sent to the president and promptly signed it into law. Now, although soon after, every other geopolitical zone wanted their own commission and they got it. But I am confident that this is the very first time since 1970 that one of the 3R is being implemented by government, and that R is reconstruction. Now, the team that is there, like I started earlier, I'm an incurable optimist. I believe the team that is there will go beyond what other commissions do. And they have started already, because I was happy to watch the young man that is the MD there, a young man called
Mark Okorie.
Mark Okorie Jr., the son of the former Minister of State in Abuja, yes.
Yeah.
Present a blueprint to the president, showing how the commission can attract about 150 billion US into the Southeast. And they have gone around meeting the governors and other stakeholders on to get firsthand what indeed the Igbo people will want in terms of economic empowerment and developing the area. The other area is our governors. Unfortunately, they do not work as a team. Otherwise, the ease of doing business in the Southeast ought to have been something that will help attract investors. The other part that only political power can help us solve is the reopening of the coastal seaports.
Okay.
Yes, the coastal seaports will bring our people back. Before the first republic, people were coming from Cameroon, from Congo, from everywhere, from Niger Republic to Aba to buy. People were coming from West African countries to Onitsha to buy things. All of those things have changed. Our people have relocated to other places because the seaports have been abandoned deliberately. So these are some of the things that can quicken economic development in the Southeast. And I think, as I said, The pace is on, but it's slow. But when we get organized, we can ginger some of our people in government to do what they are supposed to do, and to know that inaction comes with political consequences, and that accountability is a must for any person in power. These are things that are not there. There is no person enforcing some of these things, not necessarily by any violent means, but by using the power you already have to bring people and call them to order, or they will face the results.
Now, you've before now you highlighted that you are a very optimistic person, and obviously believing that that the Nigeria will work, maybe with a slight tweak, and if people are upbeat. Do you believe restructuring or true federalism remains the best solution for Ndibo within Nigeria? Obviously, we have our sons and the younger ones who were not around when the war was fought, and the name Biafra becomes, some would argue, an utopic country, a place of succor in their mind, while they now tell you that Nigeria has no, some borrow the words of Dr. Nanda Azikiwe, that Nigeria has no mequatalism, and they believe they believe in that. But people like us who are federalist in nature will think, well, it can be mequatanized if we probably I will not battle for the Ivaka. Now, do you believe in restructuring or true federalism, or rather that it is the best solution for Ndibo within Nigeria, or do you think na abokwana akwa yabaka agano tinu agana sina?
No, the restructuring is the best thing for even Nigeria, not just Ndibo. And sometimes when people say, oh, all the political parties in Nigeria, they don't have ideology, they are the same thing, I simply laugh, because unfortunately, APGA was not given the opportunity to promote and market what it already has in its manifesto, because where you find the party's ideologies in the manifesto, that is the social contract you have with the people. In the party constitution as we have it in Nigeria, you are forced by law to toe the line of the Nigerian constitution, that anything you put there that is inconsistent with the constitution of Nigeria is a nullity. But manifesto gives you wider room. So we said, not just restructuring for the sake of restructuring. We also included resource control. We also included self-determination of all the ethnic nationalities in Nigeria. We included that through federalism and expanded it to mean devolution of power down to the lowest level. And we know for sure that every state in this country is endowed with resources, especially material resources, mineral resources, and then, of course, to a large extent, human resources, to be able to develop at their own pace. And Nigeria will experience a quantum leap in development. But some people are afraid. They want to keep, you see, when you want to keep somebody down so that it doesn't overtake you, you remain down with him there. But when you leave him, he will move and you will move. So there are some people are keeping Igbo people down by sitting on this structure they designed for themselves, which has not even benefited them. Instead, it has drawn Nigeria back and kept us stagnant for several decades. So restructuring is the way to go. People like even Chief Emeka Anyoku, even at his age over about 90 or so, is still championing restructuring. The others that have left, the likes of Ayo Adebanjo, the likes of Edwin Clark, and of course younger ones like us, but we are now old. We've been talking about restructuring even before APGA, even before the formation of APGA, when we had the Westway as our platform to talk. So there is no gainsaying the fact that the thing that will liberate our people is restructuring, devolution of power, and true federalism, and the self-determination of ethnic. If we have self-determination, we will not be talking about exiting from Nigeria.
Now,
In Ethiopia, their constitution, in Ethiopia, they have a constitution that allows for secession. In Ethiopia.
I'm actually glad that you brought the point of self-determination now. I recall in when Chudo Fodil, when I believe you founded, is it UPP, right?
Yeah.
And Chudo Fodil and Dosita Chidoka, I believe in 2015, ran for the governorship of Anambra State then. And, in that contestation, a prominent conversation then was self-determination,
Right.
became a buzzword. And in the election that followed, where you also contested for the, became the presidential candidate of that party, the same buzzword was all over the air. Now, what informed you at that point bringing up self-determination? Some have argued that because there was a cry led by Mazin Nnamdi Kanu at that point, that everybody was talking about, give us referendum and, self-determination and whatnot, that you wanted to, it was a moment for you to catch in and probably think if you can garner vote through those who were calling for referendum and whatnot. Is that the strategy that you used then, or is there any other thing that was really behind the ideology and the strategy used then?
Well, the issue of self-determination had been there. In fact, the first person to use the term self-determination in our political terminology was Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe. If you go back and read his speech at Aba in 1949, he laid emphasis on self-determination. And we also know that even the United Nations has a provision for the right of indigenous people to self-determination. And the Nnamdi Kanu you are talking about, don't forget he was the chairman of APGA in UK, and I approved his appointment, and that was 2002. So there was no IOB then. So the issue of self-determination he was very conversant with it, because it was already in our social contract at that time. So it's not something that just began because people, yes, it could have been revved up to lay more emphasis on it as the struggle continues. But this is again the funny part. The people who always come out and shout referendum have forgotten that if there's a referendum today, they will not qualify to participate because they don't have a voter's card. Because the only thing that will qualify you to participate in a referendum is your voter's card. That is what will show that you've reached the age to determine whether you'll be here or not be here. So this is part of it. Let us arm ourselves with that, which even if it comes to a head, that there will be a referendum on whether to stay or not to stay, that you will participate. You can participate with the AK-47 or by demonstrating on the streets. So there's a job to do.
So beyond, because I mean, I'm taking comments from all over the media spaces here. Now, but beyond the buzzword of self-determination, are you able to, as someone, as a philosopher, as someone, a deep thinker who sat down, thought about self-determination, are you able to break it down for my audience tonight to say, if we live here, when people talk about self-determination, what it means, so that people don't confuse that as self-determination, oh, let's go and create a republic. Oh, self-determination, let's get out of this country. So what is it that is self-determination, the way you understand it?
In simple terms, self-determination is a right to determine how you relate with one another, that is, between one subnational and another within the context of Nigeria. Self-determination means that somebody will not stay in Abuja and decide for you how you use your land or use your water, or what is under your land and what is under in your waters. Self-determination means that you can have your own set of laws, like we had, even though we had a quasi-federation. It wasn't a true federation, but a quasi-federation when we had independence, yet all the regions had their own constitutions. All the regions were able to manage their affairs in such a way that between 1960 and the time the war came, Eastern region was recorded as the fastest growing third world economy in the entire world. It is self-determination that made it possible. But today, there are so many things you can't do until you look at the issue of electricity grid. It's not just recently, this President Tinubu's regime that it was now signed into law, what was passed under Buhari's regime, that states can now, ownership of electricity businesses have now been liberalized. But this ought to have been the way it was. Many people who were born later, the time I was born, knew that there was a steady electricity supply in Eastern region. But the issue of grid was to be able to switch off an entire region whenever they feel that we are becoming stubborn. They will just switch off with pushing down the lever. But they have seen that has not helped Nigeria, and that is why Nigeria, of 200 and something million people, can't even generate or distribute up to 5,000 megawatts. So these are some of the things self-determination will help us unravel.
Okay, so I'm going to still stay on this to, let's make this clarification. If I piggyback on Dr. Nanda Azikiwe, in one of his quotes, he said, "It is better to govern or misgovern ourselves than to be governed by others," when he was speaking on self-determination, right? Now, and you mentioned how well we did, referencing Emma Bara here, when the Southeast was the fastest growing economy. Was that a function of self-determination, or was that a function of regional governance, or both?
No, it's both. Like I said to you, you can't have a self-determination without government to
Some level
manage
of autonomy, right?
Yes, there must have level of autonomy. There must be government to manage it for you, to exercise that self-determination, to make sure that right is protected.
So are the states now not? Are they not free to do the things that?
No, they are not free. They are just appendages of the center. Your security is in the hand of the commander-in-chief, who is the president. Everything we have tried ourselves, who has to allow us operate community policing and state police. You come to our place in the Southeast, every kilometer you have a checkpoint. In fact, the whole of Southeast is like a place under siege. You have occupation army there and extorting money. The governors have no voice, even as a team. Can you imagine what type of self-determination will you have? 5 governors will never have gone to see the president as a team to say, if you leave Nnamdi Kanu and other prisoners of conscience, our place will be quieter. They lack the courage to do that. What you can imagine when Okpara was there. Okpara was told not to enter Ibadan to campaign for Action Group that was part of the APGA then. he mobilized and went there and the people received him. That was when the people don't know why he was called Emoy Power. It was that entry, bold entry into that place that gave him that title, Emoy Power. So when you have this stuff, that you have there's courage that goes with it.
Okay, and you know, I come back here again to 2023 election and beyond. What are your reflections on the 2023 general election and Ndibo's performance and positioning within that political context? While you were talking, you mentioned that Abuja. You highlighted, and I believe you believe that we, as a result of Ndibo's involvement, Peter B won Abuja. And many people have also said the same in Lagos, but some people would also
And
disagree.
Lagos.
And some people would disagree that the reason why Lagos and Abuja was won was because of the level of political enlightenment in these cities, that the Igbo vote alone couldn't have made that happen, because you had the predominant Yorubas and Niger Delta in Lagos, that who, you know, those who were really routing for him, that really made that happen. In Abuja, many would also tell you, well, that you have the indigenous people and the cosmopolitan nature of Abuja that made that to happen. So what is your reflection on the 20?
Well, those people are guessing. Those who are saying that may probably be imagining things. I tell you, when when we were in APGA, we had, even in UPP, we had the register, the soft copy of registered voters in AMAC, Abuja Municipal Council area. Out of about 475,000 registered voters at that time, 300,000 of that was Igbo. That number was Igbo. Using the names they answered, and we took our time. When President Tinubu was governor of Lagos State, he once made a public statement that Igbo people were not participating in the politics of Lagos State, that Igbo people had about 45% of the voting population in Lagos State. This was Tinubu as a governor. I'm not saying that it's only Igbo votes that made P2B, but I can tell you Igbo votes can make him president. Because there are others who will bring, I said it at the beginning, there are others that feel the way we feel. They are looking up to us to take the lead so that they can follow. Now, you talk about, what's the other angle of your question? Igbo votes and all that. But the truth here is that let those votes come out first. We have not utilized our voting strength. And that is what I want us to see done. If by January thereabout, we pull off this political summit, we will use 2027 election as a litmus test to assess what a sleeping giant that has woken up can do. In 2023 election, you refer to, because the first the general election, the National Assembly election that involved the presidential election, the Senate and House of Rep was fairly done according to what the technology of the time gave. But unfortunately, when it got to presidential, they said there was a glitch. But let me tell you what that near perfect election on National Assembly showed us. About seven governors, serving governors, lost their bid to go to Senate because that particular election reflected nearly what the people voted. And before that election, governors would very easily, unchallenged, walk from government house to the Senate.
Mm-hmm.
And there are 7 of them in the country that lost their bid to go to the Senate. Nobody would have thought that it would be possible. So that is where the electoral reform we are all looking for. We'll also put our attention there.
Okay.
So that when we have mobilized these votes, let these votes count. Once that is done, nothing will be the same again. I tell you that we are determined to redraw the political map of Nigeria.
Okay.
We must be ready to do it. That determination must be there.
Okay.
And we will have it already.
In redrawing the political map of Nigeria, if I may borrow your words, recently, I believe you may have seen the statistics. INEC registration commenced on the 18th of August. And in the first week or first 2 weeks, the result of the new registrants, you can see, I believe, Ogun State registering in the first week over 300,000, and the numbers are flying here and there. Ebonyi was only 424, only. Not 1,000, but only 400, less than half, less than half 1,000. And the Southeast, the turnout was abysmal. In all that you are calling, in all that you are saying, and you will reshape all the political map.
No, I'm not saying it's going to be a walk in the park.
Yeah.
The point remains that exercise, although it is so very suspicious of what happened, the true thing that happened, but what that showed us that our people have become despondent in matter of participating in Nigerian politics. And that is whenever I talk about waking up the giant, it's not just a certain huge man that will be woken up. Well, every person put together constitute that giant. That there will be a continuous registration exercise and many people don't go to participate in it. It's part of that problem that we must face squarely. And we are going to use all the things, all the structures, the network that we already have to make it happen. In those days, we used to use town criers to send messages. Today, we have all these unions here and there that will pass the message. And by the time the election comes, we'll be monitoring. That is why there's need for a body that is concerned with this type of matter, that will be monitoring closely. We have our people in the National Assembly. We have committee for INEC, Senate committee on INEC, House committee on INEC. There are Igbo people there. They should also look into these numbers. Check the army, check the police. Our people, our young men no longer apply. And that is everybody, they are crying. We are people, even those who own the army and the police are the ones crying out that Igbo people don't come to apply. And why would you blame them? If they applied before, they will need to borrow money to pay their way to admission, even when they are more qualified than others. So there are certain things that have to be corrected. And that is why this job is, though a thankless job, but it is a job that some of us must be devote our lives to. And that is why partisanship is no longer for me.
No,
because
sure.
I've seen this, and I've seen it as a big challenge. When we were going for APGA, I was called names. Some people said, look, this 419 man is coming to ask for money to go and add to his business. I heard all of those things. But with single-mindedness, I called other people. We moved ahead. We got APGA. The moment we got APGA, celebration started. 2 years into APGA, sabotage entered. But that is not enough to discourage anybody from going ahead to continue to do what he has to do for his people. Some people are already telling me, are you sure that this thing, once it takes off, they will not hijack it? I said, well, let it take off first until let's see the hijack. But some of us have developed natural antenna to identify saboteurs from a distance based on experience.
Now, if I come back to the voters registration that is ongoing, I mean, this is something that is timed. It's not going to go on forever. and it's already started. If in a marathon race you started poorly, very very poorly, I must add, and probably in the middle you haven't really picked up, how do you then intend to have magic that by the time you're finishing, you're going to finish strong? So it's the tendency that if you started poor, in the middle you are still poor, that probably at the end of the day you're going to come last. And so, kedi handi boy me now, kedi high
No,
me.
let me say this. Outside of the fact that it's worrisome that people are not coming out to register, those who have not registered, let's just even consider the fact that INEC figure says the figure, those doing fact check can do it as we are speaking. The number of registered voters in the Southeast before 2023 election was 11.4 something million. The fact that we had that number and only less than 2 million voted is sufficiently worrisome.
Correct. But I mean,
what if about 3/4 of that? So while that is there, is a problem that has to be solved. We'll also, in the process of solving it, look into this other aspect of non-participation. Our people are despondent, their morale is very low. Some say they don't want Nigeria, but let us tell them that even if you want to leave Nigeria, be rest assured that if you don't have your voter's card, you will not participate in your much expected referendum.
Anyway, honestly, I believe we must find a way, even if it's offline, to make input in this. Now, when you talked about how you made APGA work, you talked about the diaspora engagement. Now, if I move away from that is party politics, you've resigned from party politics. Now we've come to, you come to building a people and give them a political structure. How can the Igbo diaspora be strategically engaged in shaping development in the Southeast vis-a-vis from the knowledge you've so garnered when you did what you did with APGA and understanding our trajectory today? How can that then happen?
Very good. That is why in conceptualizing Igbo agenda dialogue, we are not looking at one octopus body that every person will have to go and have a membership card and belong to it. When we talk of Igbo network, we are looking at all our associations that exist in the diaspora. We have more associations, as many associations in the diaspora as we have at home. So we're going to make sure we reach out to all and have a platform. Thank God for technology, that all of these associations that have a certain number of membership, we key into it. And we will be relating with them, and they will be feeding us back. And when it comes to having a general kind of meeting like the one we are going to have in January, God willing, that's where these associations will bring in their leaders. And of course, we don't have to expect that people in America will, anytime we have meeting, we fly in. We will now have IAD in the US, in Europe, in Asian countries, and all of that. But a small body that will be coordinating the associations. We don't want to tamper with any person's organization where some people are already chairmen, secretaries, and treasurers, and all of that. That is what causes trouble in Igbo land. No, remain where you are, head what you are heading, but agree that we will work together through this network. That's why we call it Igbo National Grid, political grid. That is actually the other name for IAD, Igbo National Political Grid. So that once you decode that grid, once you activate it, every part of the world where Igbo people are settled will get the vibration.
Now, a key thing that worries many people now, especially some part of my state in Anambra and a larger part in Imo State, is insecurity. In your assessment, what factors led to the rise of the insecurity in Igbo, and how do you think, or how do you propose we overcome it?
Well, poverty is one serious problem that can make a person, like they say, an idle hand is idle mind.
So you're referencing,
both,
you're referencing economic poverty, not poverty of the mind.
yes, economic poverty.
Okay.
When you have able-bodied young men and women who are not gainfully employed, and they remain idle even after they have gone to school, acquired certain skills and qualifications, and they have nothing to do. That is one aspect. Then the other aspect is the security architecture itself. We used to have, we have been advocating community, state police and community policing. And then in doing that, people like, part of what I have always also suggested is that our governors, in order to check their abuse of having police under their control, is to remove immunity from criminal matters. Let them enjoy immunity on all civil matters. But if you use police to commit crime or use it to oppress anybody which is criminal, then the court will be there to call you to come and to question. But here, a governor that is enjoying immunity will abuse that type of privilege if given, or power if given to him. So, but if we have community policing, who are going to be in that community policing unit? There are people from that community. They know themselves, they know their terrain, they know their bushes and their villages, and their people know them. If you come into the community, they know when a stranger has strayed in, and so on and so forth. And if we have the state police, see, look at what is happening today in Nigeria. You take an Igbo man, a Christian, who can speak one word of Hausa, and you put him in Nguru in the north to go and do police work. The first thing is that he wouldn't know what he will do, and they will say it's blasphemy and go cut off his head. So rather than put his life at stake, he will go and sit down and he will not deliver that job he has been trained to do. Whereas on the other hand, the ones that they are posting to our area, come to Igbo land, you are DPOs, you are all the kind of police officers and people from other places. And many of them can't even communicate in even pidgin English, not to talk of proper English language. So when you meet them on the road and they stop you, communication becomes a problem. And so how do you expect such people to carry out the proper police work in a strange land? So they come to extort money. And the much money they extort, the more their people celebrate them as people who have gone and conquered and brought booties home. So now we now see them, rather than make the police being our friend as they want us to believe, we will see them as our oppressors. And you cannot control crime with this type of method. So the security architecture has to be redesigned to allow the people to take care of their own security. Security is everybody's business. But don't bring in strangers to occupy our roads, build roadblocks here and there, and make life miserable for us, and continue to give us a sense of people under siege, a conquered people, and you expect patriotism to flourish.
Okay. So you are in your statement now, you are pushing for a different security architecture, if I borrow that security architecture. Now the question would be, should Igbo push for regional security outfit? We have in the Southwest that the Amotekun of the Southwest, or should we rely solely on the federal government structure and probably hope for before the president left for France and the United Kingdom this week, he hinted of a video came out where he was advocating now for state police. If you put that in mind, this question, I'll take your mind back in 2023. Brilliant minds of Igbo extraction gathered in Owerri for a Southeast Economic and Security Summit. In that summit, a regional security outfit was agreed, codenamed Anyoha. And I believe since up to date, recently was Abia State Governor Alex Oti, Dr. Alex Oti, was the only person that signed that into law. Now, you have the other four southeastern states. So the reason why I brought this up is that because when you want to look at regional security outfit, 2 years down the line, September 2023, I was there present. 2 years down the line, the governors we have not been able to give the Southeast a regional security outfit. Now, the question, some are now saying, should we then, do we still need it, or should we then, go for state police as now been advocated by the president? What's your take?
Well, state police and community policing is the answer. Then states can have interstate cooperation. Just like in the Nigerian military setup, where they have been fighting insurgency in the north for years. All along, the various arms of the armed forces have been working on their individual methods and strategies until they began to talk about synergy. And that has been yielding some results in that part of the country. So let us have, first of all, state police and community policing, and then there will be interstate collaboration. Because our people tried it, they tried Bubago. I know if I go into why Bubago collapsed, that will take us the whole night. And it is just because of the same inability of our people to work together. In Enugu State, for instance, where I lived most of my life, the governor there has introduced certain measure of technology in fighting crime. They have a command and control center where they use satellite to practically fence off the whole of Enugu, and it's been yielding results. Abia State is doing wonderfully well. Some governors apply different kind of methods. Imo and Anambra State believe more in kinetic approach than non-kinetic, and all of that. So that has none of these things can give us the type of security we deserve. What can do it for us? The Amotekun we're even talking about, quite frankly, it's only Ondo and one other states that are now practicing that Amotekun. There's no Amotekun in Lagos. You can go to other places. So these things they hardly work. Allow the states to handle their security outfit according to their special circumstances, and then allow them the latitude to collaborate with their neighboring states for perhaps it can result in a regional network, whatever it is that will make us have a safer place to live in. But I believe if we have our individual community policing and state police, it becomes easier to have a regional arrangement.
Okay. I mean, I appreciate that. When you talked about regional integration now, and that will be coming to an end, and I'll take questions from our audience. What's your view on the economic cooperation? I mean, if we leave the security and come to the economic cooperation of the Southeast governors, how, in your honest view, do you think there is much cooperation now? Can Alibo build its own version of a regional economic bloc like the EU model? Because what we see is that Enugu starts something. It's for Enugu. Anambra is doing something. You hear dualization of road. It's for Anambra. Enugu is building, during the time of Dave Umahi. I once traveled to at King David's University. A friend of mine was, the car with our driver. He was sleeping when we left Abakaliki. On getting to Enugu, he woke up. I said, "Why?" He said, "The gallop I'm now feeling tells me that I'm in Enugu." Then, so It was funny, but it meant that Umahi did whatever he did on that federal road, stopped at Enugu. Thinking about it, is there, don't you think that the Southeast will develop more when we begin to think cooperatively more than as, get the bigger picture as a region? More than just thinking as Enugu, Abia, Ebonyi, Imo, and that's again affect us in the security because in my area, you see these criminals, you pursue them in Osumohu, they go to Okigwe, cause havoc. They leave Okigwe, they go back to Omoaka. You pursue them in Omo. Do you understand? So they keep crisscrossing. Now, probably because there is no regional thinking that could say, hey, you know, even if here is the border, you can't just cross that way. Somebody would probably have an overview and a bird eye view of what is happening. So, do you think Anibo can build its own version of a regional economic bloc?
Yes, we can, if we have the will to do so. And that possibility will be there if we also take full control of the recruitment of our leaders at all levels, down to the governors. But today, there is no synergy. I have been part and parcel of all of these summits, economic summit. If you look at the blueprint, the papers presented, very brilliant. When you look at it, the recommendations for regional cooperation to make Southeast a technological hub, economic hub, this and that, they're all there written on paper. But because the governors have not agreed to really give a bite to such lofty recommendations, they remain gathering dust. But I only hope, and I have good reason for that hope, that the Southeast Economic Development Commission is one body that can power this regional development without having to rely on these governors. What they are planning, as I know it, God willing, they will not be disrupted by any sudden change of power in the next 2 years, so that they will settle down to carry out the lofty ideas in what they have already presented to the president, which he has approved. We will begin to see regional rail lines crisscrossing the 5 states, ring road, fencing off the entire 5 states, and all sorts of infrastructure that will enable development to take place. The other aspect is what I referred to earlier as ease of doing business in our region. We have not a unified approach to making investment, to attracting direct investment to our region. The issue of land has remained a problem. Even when you bring and attract investors, before you ever get the certificate of occupancy to develop that on that land, then the investors you have attracted would have lost interest and gone away. It has happened many times. So we're creating the right type of leaders, may bring the right type of accountability and the right kind of listening ears that we need to see some of these things happen. But as of today, the hope is, in fact, my hope now is limited to this commission. As for the governors, I have lost my hope in their ability to come together. Because right now, everybody is talking about the next election.
Wow. And
So
even
that is how bad it is.
Even when the commission went round, that it appears they were able to agree on one thing, that they should concentrate on one project, and it appears they are agreeing on that project to be a regional rail that should crisscross the southeast. I mean, if honestly, That is the approach. I think they're able to do that, and the Igbo should know, okay, this is what they've been able to do for them, rather than you
Mm,
hear Enugu wants to do, you hear Abia wants to do, and you think, hey,
yeah.
hello, of what
And
use?
no, I agree with that. And but honestly, it's not only the real thing that they are doing. They have plans for encouraging our young ones who are into technology city to give
Mm,
them encouragement and support for startups and all of that.
mm,
Some of them are going to be given support to start their own businesses. They have it built in. Then, in terms of agriculture, they are going to visit some of the moribund farm settlements that
mm.
some of them have fallen into the hands of land grabbers and all of that, hoping that the governors will give them the cooperation to revive some of these things. So they are not limiting themselves, to the best of my knowledge, to just
Okay.
railroad. Mm.
Oh, it has been indeed a very, very interesting conversation with you. And as we round up and wind up, if you, as our participant, have any question, please do raise your digital hand. I'll give you the time to ask question, please. Thank you, Samadina. And but before I get my audience to begin to ask questions, those of you watching us on social media, if you have question for my guest, Chief Dr. Chekwas Okorie, founder, All Progressive Grand Alliance APGA Party. If you have any question, please put it on the comment section for those of you joining us in the social media. And those of you in this room, please raise your digital hand. I will give you the chance too. Now, my final shot to you will be, as the convener of the Igbo Agenda Dialogue, IAD 2025, what specific outcomes do you envision, and how can Ndi Igbo, really come together to help you achieve that?
Well, we, like Igbo people say, of course, you even use that when we're having issues with technology, hitches here and there. Nambida akwa na fiaro. You
Mm,
said it, and that
mm,
is the truth. So to start a thing like this, you think about it, you reflect on it, you consult people, and there are those who will tell you don't try it, it will not work, and there are those who will say, well, let us give it a shot. So we had a first meeting, inaugural meeting, and it was a fantastic success. Everybody that came who came with the same mind that it's about time we did something for ourselves. There will be another one in the next 1 month thereabout that will be more inclusive, where committees will be raised to carry out certain functions. Already we are appointing our eggheads in experts. That's what I mean anyway. In politics, in law, in other professions, economics, to come together and produce a charter for us, which we still go around for others to make their input. The first objective we want to achieve is the Igbo Political Summit. At least let us have it for the first time in 55 years. After that, the next thing is to drive it to see what the outcome of 27 will
27.
be. That means there will be no time to go and wait and rest. It will be a continuous thing. Some of us, you find us in the diaspora, we will go around as we did before, more than we did before, and continue reaching out. To reach out in Nigeria, it's been made easy for somebody like me. I've gone around this country more than 15 times. There's hardly any state I go to I will require introduction. So I'm going to leverage that in reaching out to our people in those places so that by the time we even have the summit in the next few months, it will be clear to everybody, including non-Igbo people, that something different is happening amongst Igbo. Because the
Mm,
thing that they say about us is that we can never unite. We want to prove them
mm,
wrong.
mm. That is indeed a very good place to anchor that, and I'll say thank you very much. Before I leave you, I must take the question from my guest here. Samadna, please, the floor is yours.
All right. Thank you very much, Mazi. And thank you very much, Chief Chekwas Okorie. It has
Thank
been
you.
very insightful, especially learning of your involvement in Ohaneze Foundation in 1976, being in several rooms with Chief Nnamdi Azikiwe and Chief Chukwuemeka Ojukwu. And yeah, so I have two questions. The first one will be very brief, while the second one is a little bit detailed. So for the first question, in your earlier submission, you talked about the local government as basis for political capital in the party convention system in Nigeria. And very recently, we do hear about clamors for a sixth state in Alibu, Anioma State, other state, Etiti State, Olu State, etc. In your opinion, do Ndibo need a sixth state, or do they need more local governments in Nigeria? Just for the books, there are 700 of the local governments in Nigeria, 95 in the southeast, 137 in the southwest, 123 in the south-south, 121 in the north-central, 112 in the northeast, and 186 in the northwest. Do they will need one additional state, or do they need more local government so that they would have political leverage during party convention? That's where power is actually shared.
Well, this issue of state creation, many people don't understand it. The people who handed over the 1999 Constitution to us put in such obstacles that it's almost to take the proverbial passing of the camel through the eye of the needle for a state to be created. That is why since the military left, no civilian democracy has been able to create one state. And each time there's a constitutional review, this state agitation for creation of states will rise. If you ask me, I would say I will throw my bet for Anioma State, the way it's being constituted, to be created and return to the southeast where they belong. I mean, to the others, so that what was done to balkanize us into bits and pieces would have been addressed to some extent. But as for local governments, I can tell you that that one is even a very tall order. States have tried to do that by creating development centers, like in Lagos they did, even in Ebonyi they did development centers. Whether that is another avenue to waste public fund, increasing bureaucratic overhead, is another thing to talk about. I don't think we should waste our time into doing what sometimes may not even bring immediate need. We should be talking about restructuring Nigeria. When Nigeria is restructured and you want to carve up your one state into 100 local government. But as for improving our lot during a convention to elect a presidential candidate, I don't think we've really gone beyond that now. What we should be talking about is getting our number wherever we are to pull this number together to make the impact that is needed. We already have the number that they gave us a few local governments and a few states. They have not reduced our population. They have not reduced our spread. We are the ones who have not utilized what God has given to us to look for what we want. That's the way I look at that particular aspect.
So, Samadna, go ahead with your second question.
All right, thank you very much. So, Chief Okorie, thank you very much for that. Now, much of Nigeria's political history tends to frame the June 12 struggle and the formation of NADECO as a predominantly Yoruba movement. While it is true that the Yoruba overwhelmingly voted for Chief MKO Abiola, many in the Southwest were not passionately drawn to Abiola initially, given that he had opposed Chief Awolowo in the 1979 and 1983 elections. What is often missing from the public narrative, however, is a critical role played by prominent Igbo leaders, notably the involvement of a group, a think tank, the Committee for Unity and Understanding, in NADECO's formation, headed by Commodore Ebito Ukiwe, right? And the board effort of other men like Rear Admiral Ndubisi Kanu and Dr. Chukwuemeka Ezife. In fact, it was Ukiwe who had personally persuaded, and this is from interviews from top Southwest chieftains like Segun Oshoba and Olusegun Oshoba, that it was Ukiwe who personally persuaded Abiola to return from South Africa. And it was he who lobbied Yoruba leaders such as Pa Adekunle Ajasin of Afenifere to rally full support from Afenifere for the reclamation of the June 12 mandates, which eventually they kicked off officially in 1994. Now, despite this, the Igbo role in pro-democracy movement remains largely unrecognized in Nigeria's mainstream historiography. Considering this, how do you explain the under-identification of Igbo involvement in both the June 12 struggle and Nadeko's formation, knowing that such linkages would actually serve as a sort of inspiration to propel people to rise above the current barrage of self-esteem, political self-esteem that's actually plaguing the Igbo people? And what do you think this omission tells us about the broader politics of ethnic memory, national narrative control, and the way Nigeria rewards or forgets political sacrifices, especially in contrast with how the Yoruba, despite initial political setbacks in 1979 and 1983, remained engaged with the political system and eventually produced the presidency in 1999?
Well, you're right in the narrative. You can even expand that further. So remember other sacrifices Igbo people, the government of Eastern region made to show hand of fellowship to the West that have never been appreciated. How many people will remember that Dr. Michael Okpara gave the wife of Chief Obafemi Awolowo the status of a minister and was being paid from the government, the treasury of Eastern region, including the Mercedes, the car she was riding, and the driver, because her husband was in prison in Calabar. That was the kind of sacrifice that is not even out there in the open. So the wife of a major opposition leader, the leader of the political leader of the Yoruba, was more of a shadow minister of Eastern region, enjoying the benefits of a full-fledged minister, just to support her while her husband was away. There are so many sacrifices we have made that we are not appreciated. And I tell you today, things have gotten worse. Today in Nigeria, ethnicity has become such a powerful force. When President Buhari was there, he showed so much nepotism that we thought that was the height of it. But President Tinubu, whom everybody credited with certain democratic credentials, has proved that even President Buhari was a learner in terms of the nepotism, in terms of alienation of Igbo, in terms of demonstration of hate, including people, his aides, prominent aides. So the only answer, we cannot take up arms, but like I said earlier, if you are not loved, you should at least be feared. It is obvious we are not loved, but that aura that we are supposed to wear, that will make people respect us, is what we have not been able to adopt, and that is our responsibility right now. So that and we must do it, and it is for us to do it. And when we mobilize our votes, they will come for our votes, but they will sit down with us and discuss terms of engagement. So this is the way to go about it. This country today, Nigeria today, ethnicity is far stronger than religion. Before, it used to be religion. But now people of the same religion go their different ways when ethnic interests are involved. So this is where we are. Maybe it will be Igbo Sina, maybe so then respect will return. We'll see how we move forward. But we can't be the ones who are always sacrificing and then come back and be the one lamenting all the time.
Thank you very much. I think with, in the absence of any further questions, let's quickly, the back office, let's quickly check the, online if there are further questions. If that is not the case, quickly. If there are no further questions, I think, okay. Um, okay, so there is a question from Alexander Ogogo. I said, how can those of us in the diaspora participate in this forthcoming dialogue? We need a platform like that to restore the dignity of Igbo. So, in conclusion here, do you have, for those of them in diaspora, do you think you are going to be reaching out to them, or that they would, do you have like any website, any place where people can go and register and indicate interest?
Yes, we just did this a few weeks ago. We are we are going ahead to set up all the media platforms, websites, and all the other platforms, and we'll be registering organizations and not necessarily individuals. Like I said, we don't want this to be to take the structure of a political party. But then there are persons that will reach out to and help. They will head the IAD in various places, like in the US, a big place, it's a continent of its own. So we need AID there, we need in Europe, even in Europe, we still need in UK and a few other places. But all these will be mainly to coordinate the associations in those places, and we'll be interacting with them. But for the summit we are going to have in January, we will open up a portal once it's set up to get all of those who may wish to be represented, because some will have coming home naturally as usual for Christmas, and those organizations may well send their representatives to participate. But as we go on, we'll make sure wherever Igbo people are, we are there as well.
Okay.
All over the world.
Thank you very much. That's a very fine place to anchor it. One more comment will be that as you are planning for that January, event, there must be everything put in place to make sure that it is also live streamed for those
Sure.
of Ndibo in diaspora to really key
Sure.
in and follow the proceedings from the comfort of their home for those who are not able to come to Anibo. Now,
you can tell that is a sure bet.
Okay.
That must be done.
Okay, so if there is any way we can help, we would be taking the conversation offline so we can interface on that, and we'll be glad to help out where our help is needed.
Yes, your help will be needed. Every aspect. You don't even need to ask. We are coming for your help.
Okay.
Because this will involve all of us.
Yes.
It's something we have to really put our heads and hands together to achieve.
Okay, thank you very much. It has been a fantastic conversation with our brother here, Chief Dr. Chekwas Okorie, Ojozi Ndibo, Obatulenyi Ndibo, founding member of Ohaneze Ndibo Worldwide, founder and pioneer chairman of All Progressive Grand Alliance, APGA, the founder and national chairman of the defunct United Progressive Party, UPP, and the 2015 presidential candidate of UPP. Before I let you go, and before I call for your final word, I think your Obatuleni, one of the, or rather the Obatuleni is one of the titles that you revere so much. On a side note, would you tell us why that is so special for you?
Well, actually, no, I actually prefer
Ojozi,
because Obatuleni is a high sounding, but I had to take it because it was Ohaneze, and I am the only person that Ohaneze has ever given a traditional title. All the others, they gave some kind of honor, were posthumous. I mean, Professor Iruku, Professor Obiozo, Chief Emmanuel Wanyama, they all received posthumous honors. That title was given to me as a result of the accomplishment of founding APGA, because APGA became the first national political party founded based on Igbo initiative since 1923. Party politics started in Nigeria, almost 80 years after. So when that was done, it was so celebrated. It was under Justice Ozobu as President General that the title was conferred on me. So I cherish it because that is the way my own people appreciated the little I contributed to our political relevance in Nigeria.
Okay. Thank you very much for your time, and thank you very much. All our viewers online, please like, share, and subscribe to our platforms. We will keep bringing you first-class guests on this platform. And my guest once more